And then, of course, I will be talking about the program committee. We had a very large program committee that was very effective in drawing all of you here, but I will particularly address the chair of the program committee, Tom Gearing, who did the practical work all on his own, shuffling abstracts back and forth, left and right, piling them up, throwing the files over, creating streams, creating or using all your work to create pre-designed sessions. My impression is that it all went very well. Whatever I heard in elevators and over coffee was that most of the people talking to me thought it was very well. So, on behalf of all of you, Tom, thank you very much. Now, you may have noticed that the editor of our journal, Science, Technology and Human Values, Skip Furman, has given over the steer wheel to a new editor. Skip couldn't be here. I will make sure that on your behalf I'll thank him. The society will materialize those thanks with something nice, looking like this, wood and letters, etc. Our secretary has taken care of it. We will send that to him. I would like now to ask Uli, but I don't know where she is, to stand up so that we can applaud you, to thank you for all the work that you are going to do. I'm thanking outgoing council members. Before I do that, because there is also an introduction to a part of the work that they do, I am telling you the outcome of the elections. Your next president will be Bruno Latour, and the three new council members are Gary Downey, Wenda Bauschwitz, and Yuko Fujikaki. It would be nice if the three of you could stand up so that the members see who are going to represent them. And that makes me thank the outgoing council members. You have no idea how hard council members work. It's really a burden to receive 150 books for free, but then also to read them because they are all members of juries that award prizes. We are now going to present those prizes. The first will be the prize for the best student paper, the Knowledge Award, and then I will introduce the book prizes. I would like to ask for Steve Epstein, who is going to present the Knowledge Award.
Thank you, Jimmy. I'm here on behalf of Malcolm Ashmore, who chaired the committee, and Sarah Franklin and myself. The award committee faced a difficult decision. 50 papers were submitted for consideration from graduate students. 27 originated from North America, 17 from Europe, 6 from other parts of the world. The papers in general were quite high quality. They exhibited a great diversity of topics and analytic approaches. The winner of the Nicholas Mullins Award for Society of Social Studies of Science for the best graduate student paper is Doug Davis for his paper, 100 Million Hydrogen Bombs, Total War in the Fossil Record. Doug Davis is a Marion L. Britton Fellow in the School of Literature, Communication, and Culture at the Georgia Institute of Technology. He's currently working toward completion of his PhD in the Literary Cultural Studies program at Carnegie Mellon University. And his award-winning article is the final chapter of his dissertation, which is entitled Strategic Fictions, Crisis, Invention, and Discovery in the American Narratives of Nuclear Defense. Doug Davis's paper, this is from a statement that was prepared by Malcolm Ashmore on behalf of the full committee. Doug Davis's paper stood out as both theoretically and empirically rich. The judges selected it as a work that will make a strong contribution to the field. In his article, Davis explores how impact extinction theory, the theory that an asteroid or a comet impact caused the extinction of the dinosaurs, emerged emerged from the Cold War state of conflict, and in the process turned that conflict's nuclear threat into a state of nature. According to one judge, the paper, quote, stood out as innovative, ambitious, and well executed. The article was engagingly written and quite captivating, and I loved the analysis of the complex, iterative process by which Cold War studies of bomb craters and nuclear winter helped both to constitute and borrow from a new research paradigm on geological extinction. The article deals well with empirical materials, range from scientific biographies to popular films, and concludes with useful reflections on how to reorient our thinking on what constitutes Cold War science. A second judge described it as, quote, a very scholarly and compelling account, which is also highly original and entertaining. This paper epitomized the truly excellent science studies writing can achieve, unquote. And a third judge commented that the paper was, quote, a spiritedly written contribution in which thorough scholarship is passed off lightly, and a range of fascinating, diverse cultural sources is brought to bear on a timely topic. This is a brilliant example of what the best writing in the field can achieve, unquote. I'll leave it to you to figure out which quotes are from which members of the committee. And I'll ask the delegates to please come up and receive this award.
Thank you, Steve. Of course, this work couldn't have been made possible without working with the group, and I want to thank the Carnegie Mellon Cold War Science and Technology Studies Group for bringing me on board. Specifically, I want to thank David Conchal for inviting me to the group, and Sharon and Mari for keeping me there. And I think most importantly, I would like to thank my fiance, Lisa Yazek, great wave, Lisa, for reading drafts and just being there. You're great. Thank you, everybody.
The first book prize, the Rachel Carson Prize, may be presented by the chair of the committee, Kim Fortune.
Good evening. I'm pleased to have the responsibility tonight to award the Forrest Carson Prize, a prize for an exemplary book focused on science and technology that takes up issues of contemporary political concern. There are, of course, many ways that a book can take up political concerns. A book can, for example, address a wide audience, aiming to shift how readers think about a particular phenomenon through expose. Rachel Carson's own book, Silent Spring, certainly accomplished this. Most readers come away from Silent Spring thinking about pesticides as a threat rather than as a good, of food itself as a source of danger, and as experts as people to question, if not to simply disbelieve. Another way of taking up political issues is more academic, so to speak, by offering a different way of thinking about a particular phenomenon, not through expose, but by method and theory. Feminist scholarship, for example, takes up political concerns by asking new questions about a particular phenomenon and noting patterns of social action in linguistic forms that are not drawn out in conventional analyses. The book that won the Carson Prize this year is an impressive example of each of these ways of taking up the political. It's a book that, rather like Carson's book, is about a topic that has been black-boxed in the public imagination. Carson's book denaturalized pesticides, quite literally, and technical expertise more figuratively. The book that has won the Carson Prize this year denaturalizes the credibility of science advisors, in the United States in particular. It shows that credibility takes work, that the credibility of science is not a given, even when the science bears the stamp of an esteemed body like the National Academy of Sciences. The book focuses specifically on 3 Academy reports focused on diet and health. The book is not shocking in the way Silent Spring was shocking. Instead, the expose provokes thoughtful engagement with a number of important questions regarding science and democracy. Reading this book calls upon readers to think about whether science could ever be credible if it were not staged, performed in a way that produces an effect of credibility. It is this potential, which Clark Miller pointed out in Author Meets Critic session on Friday, to provide readers with a way of thinking about science as something between inherent objectivity and spin, that is impressive. Readers can learn to ask not simply whether a scientific statement is true or false, but how a truth claim was constructed, who participated in the construction of a particular truth claim, what methodologies and evaluative modes were relied on, in what genre was the truth claim represented and circulated, what does the genre leave out as a matter of purpose, how does it matter that the report is an Academy report. Readers thus come away more scientifically literate, able to better read and interpret science, and thus able to rely on it as a critical social resource. Readers also come away more literate, more thoughtful about democracy. They are led to question the dream of direct democracy, for example. In a world riveted by complex medical technologies, global markets, environmental risks, and other phenomena that tend to be opaque and incomprehensible when scientific advisors are not available for comment. My point is that this book can support shifts in the way readers think about democracy, truth, and the relationship between the two. Through its expose of how science within the National Academy of Science works operationally through complex social machinery as cultural production. The book also takes up political concerns via method and theory. Another of its accomplishments is to draw out from science studies classic sociological works on performativity. Irving Goffman was an important inspiration for the book. Drawing on Goffman, the book asks new questions about how scientific credibility is achieved and notes the significant moments in and dimensions of the scientific process that are often ignored. This makes the book a good book about scientific advising in the National Academy of Sciences, while also introducing into science studies a theoretical framework that can usefully inform research on a wide array of topics. This is an important accomplishment. It is for this double way of taking up the political that the winner of this year's Carson Prize was so regarded by the prize committee, which I will note included me, an American, Bill Amona, Robert Harasoa, who is French, and Hideto Nagajima, who is Japanese. The diversity of the committee resulted in an evaluation of all the books we received from many different perspectives. This meant that the evaluation process was particularly intense as well as rewarding for the committee. So we're very pleased to announce this year's winner, Stephen Hilgartner, for his book, Science on Stage, Expert Advice as Public Drama. Published by Stanford University Press in the year 2000, Steve is a faculty member in the Department of STS at Cornell.
Yeah, what about Martha? I'm going to film from here, and then I'm going to...
Thanks, Kim. It's really an honor to receive this award from this society, and it really pleases me greatly to be receiving it today. Now, if we were in Hollywood instead of in Milwaukee, and if Kim were presenting me with an Academy Award, instead of an award for a book about the Academy, then it would now be time for me to briefly, and perhaps tearfully, thank a whole litany of people, beginning with my agent and ending precisely 45 seconds later with my tax attorney, for all the help that they've had. Of course, this isn't Hollywood, and I don't have an agent, and in many cases, for us, it's a different set of rituals. And Wes Frum, who quietly stage manages these prize events, actually instructed me to go on a bit, not too long I think, but a bit, about how I came to write this book. So I'll try to be brief and I'll do my best not to be tearful, and rather than reading along with the names of people who in one way or another were helped, what I'll do is direct you to the acknowledgement section of the book, and also to the footnotes, where many people, including a number of people in this room, in helping me constitute my authorial voice and underwrite its credibility. One person, however, whose name is omitted from the text of Science on Stage, perhaps now deserves to be released from the backstage world of personal biography, and to have her contribution to my book explicitly and publicly presented on this stage tonight. I'm speaking actually of Rachel Carson, a woman whose name was a household word in my family and while growing up in the 1960s. And in fact, her name was so familiar that I think I dimly recall that one of my younger siblings somehow got the impression that Rachel Carson was one word, and that if we referred to a pesticide, it was more deadly than DDT or deodorant. Now, for my mother especially, Rachel Carson was a real hero. And indeed, about 10 years ago, after retiring from a career as an educator of young children, she wrote a very brief biography of Rachel Carson aimed at very young children, in fact, 3 to 6 years old, the age that she worked on. And I don't want to be accused of engaging in the Hollywood abomination of product placement, but I think that underlines the reality of this book. I believe you can still, I'm not absolutely sure, that you can still get a copy of it from Amazon.com. Now, my mother wrote this book because she believed that children need heroes, and she also believed that not all of those heroes should be manufactured in the circuitry of video games or in the stage performances that emerge from Hollywood onto the screens and televisions of America and the rest of the world. As you might imagine, she was very pleased to learn that the book that her son had dedicated to her had won an award named after her hero, who she had written a book about herself. Now, it should be strikingly obvious, I think, that this kind of bizarre and almost too heartwarming sort of intergenerational coincidence that feels almost like a trumped-up Hollywood ending in some strange way is not the kind of thing that happens, as the statisticians say, by chance alone. And the genetic explanation, I think, seems unlikely. Although there's minimal evidence for it in the form of inheritance, we know that environmental things are inherited too, and I think it's much more likely, as most of us would concede, that growing up in an environment where Carson was revered helped me to recognize and indeed become obsessed with intellectually, politically, and in many other ways with the central importance of decision-making about science and technology in the contemporary world. And no doubt many people in this world, in this room, also share that kind of obsession that they can probably trace environmental and not genetic explanations for. And these are the kinds of concerns that led me to study the social machinery that the Academy uses to produce advice. And I began the research that underlies this book really embarrassingly long ago. I hasten to add, when I did my PhD, which was completed in 1988, on the debate over dietary advice intended to prevent cancer. And at that time, before that PhD, I spent a long time trying to ferret out the details about how these 3 Academy reports and other reports too were produced. And I ran into lots of roadblocks. I could find out a lot, but I couldn't find out everything I wanted to find out. And I ended up actually putting the project aside and paying a lot of attention to the world of genomics, as some of you know, devoting my attention to that for a while until it was really absolutely necessary to finish this project. And at about that point, it finally, I don't know why it took so long, but it finally dawned on me that I was thinking about the roadblocks in entirely the wrong way. Rather than treating them as obstacles to the research, what I should do is, I realized that belatedly perhaps, is see them as topics for analysis. That the process through which the Academy was putting barriers in what could be research seen and understand about its activities was in fact the thing that would be interesting to study. And at that point, the vision for this book was born. I didn't do more research, but reanalyzed my material. And I'm very pleased that this book has received this award, which is very gratifying, especially after such a long gestational period. And I hope that it will contribute to additional work on science advice and beyond the world on science advice, its attention to stage management and the enclosure and disclosure of information and techniques of information control and ways that knowledge is made unknowable by some people and knowable by others. And those kinds of processes will get more attention, more systematic study from the STS community, so that when we look at the production of knowledge, we also think increasingly self-consciously about the prevention of knowledge the containment of knowledge, and the processes that orchestrate complex distribution throughout society in very selective and extremely consequential ways. So thank you very much.
The multiple prize society awards will be awarded by Ken. Thank you.
I'm here as a representative of this year's Black Prize Committee, which includes Jennifer Royston, Sheila Jagdall, and Steve Fuller. The Black Prize is given to the best book SDS published in recent years. Some 100 books were nominated for the Black Carson Prize, and the committee sorted them out, decided which fit best for which competition, and then evaluated them. This year, we have two winners of the Black Prize. Lily Kay, for her book, Who Wrote the Book of Life, and Randall Collins for Sociology of Love. We're here to honor these fine scholars and their work. But our celebratory mood is tempered by our sadness that Lily Kay did not live to receive this honor. Lily died of cancer nearly 2 years ago. This is her last published book in history. And Who Wrote the Book of Life, Lily Kay offers a history of how information theory interacted with biological research in the presence of the nuclear age, the Cold War, cryptography, and the evolving science funding system. It gives rise to the view of the genome as an information system, or as a book to be read. As Hans-Jörg Reinberg reminded us this morning, Lily challenged. She thought the code was not a code. She thought that extracting and analyzing DNA apart from the biological context of the organism's environment was badly misleading. In her words, when the context itself is problematized, that is, when we think hard about where and how DNA becomes biologically active, again, her words, genetic messages might be read less like an instruction manual and more like poetry. What is so excellent about this book? Just about everything. It's a bold book of scholarship. It has a striking original thesis. It's great. In its research, analysis, and writing, Lily took personal and intellectual risks. It's broad. Intellectually, it ranges across molecular biology, information technology, and various events that were happening in this crucial period of the 50s and 60s. It's a conceptually strong book, strikingly so for a work of history. It has in it ideas from Foucault, Derrida, and others that use different aspects of the information technology discourse about molecular biology into sharp analytic focus. It's a mature work. It presents a beautifully nuanced examination of historical documents, letters, lab notebooks, and the like. But it does not stop there. In the book, Lily also develops the broader cultural implications for analysis. She takes well-considered inferential leaps in the work. By placing an intellectual stake in the ground so far outside of received wisdom, Lily opened up an avenue for inquiry for others. This morning at the author critics session about this book, Mike Fisher shared with us some comments the novelist Richard Powers, author of The Gold Bug Variations, made about Lily's work. He called it, quote, a grand work of historical synthesis and cultural analysis, written with joy and humor, an interpretation of science as it ought to be done. We wholeheartedly agree with the woman's price. Since Lily is not with us, I would like to ask Mike Fisher to accept the Flex Prize plaque for her. Please. And please join me in acknowledging this.
She lived just long enough to actually see the book published and to get the first review, which she was thrilled was in Wired magazine. The second kind of review that she got was some email compliments from Richard Powers that I read out a little bit of this morning and that had just referred to. And that thrilled her as well. I think there are a couple of things that are resonant about this award that are really quite wonderful. One is that Lily, of course, was a very disciplined historian. And the book, for those of you who have not read it, is a marvelous account working through very detailed historiography of points at which things could have been different. So the whole struggle over cryptography as the site in which the metaphor of the Book of Life sort of faltered is detailed very nicely, as is eventually the point at which the code is cracked by biochemists who then had to recode their findings in the discourse that came on. And the point that Ed referred to, I want to stress, she was a scholar who was a historian of science, dedicated historian of science, but she was also one who reached